Thank you very much for sitting down with me today. I appreciate the time. The last time we spoke to IGB about a year ago, I think it was the same sort of event. You talked a lot about the restructuring at the time of the business. I'd like to sort of take a reflective look back a year on how you found that, where the business stands today in terms of the restructure, and what you've learned.
Yeah, so really the big thing we've been doing has been trying to incorporate two big acquisitions that happened last year. One from July, one from October. One, this UK company, FSB Technologies, so why we're sitting in London right now. Another, a game studio, Phantasma, with offices in Stockholm and Sofia. So even for a fairly large and like somewhat mature organization such as us, this has been a lot of work and a lot of insight and a lot of learning to do these two. And I think this should highlight something from the last 1 year. Then that is how we have dealt with this and what the results have been.
Okay, interesting. And what would you say was some of the big lessons and takeaways?
Yeah, that's really quite hard. I would say one lesson is that it's quite hard to merge two organizations and merge cultures, in particular merge software. When we try to do it where we say these are equal parties that meet and everybody's great and your software is good and our software is good, and then you're sort of losing who's taking charge, who's in control. And if you lose that, then you can lose your way.
Right.
With FSB, we just said clearly we're going to control this, we're going to do this. We had a fairly tight plan for how to go about it, and I think that's one reason that at least so far things have gone quite well. We had technology in the FSB company when we acquired them that was for sure superior to what we had in EveryMatrix. Yet we chose not to retain it. We chose to say integrating this into the EveryMatrix software universe was going to be in the short term the solution, but in the long term give us more headaches. So we chose to simply rebuild what we needed from FSB by getting the FSB guys insights into what we should build, tell us what would be the best way to build something. In this case was our horse racing part, but also in risk management and other sports areas. They've had better experience or more experience than we had. So learn from people that really you should be learning from, but not necessarily take the exact solution that you have. And so far, I think this approach has worked well. While when you talk about retaining the software, then you get into this. Yeah, you will find ways where really the match is not perfect, and you're struggling with realizing synergies that you thought were there, and you end up maybe losing your way a little bit. So that would be my main learning.
That's super interesting. What happened to parts of the platform that you no longer use? Was that fully absorbed, or did you sort of keep any of the old systems?
When we are fully done, we will keep absolutely nothing. Only the insights.
Interesting.
Only the insights, only the learnings, only that accumulated wisdom that is behind it. Is also, of course, is some of the people, some of the humans that actually built this. So I'm happy to say we have the CTO of FSB is still with us. I mean, I had dinner with him yesterday.
Yeah.
He's been part of overseeing all this. The head of trading is still with us, and so on. So the sales, the account management. So a lot of the key decision makers and people who made FSB into something recognized in the industry, they are still with us today, and they are now helping shape EveryMatrix in new ways, and with more support than frankly they got before, which is something I feel is appreciated by them, and they feel, yeah, of course it sucks to some extent that part of what you built gets put to sleep, yes, but also it's great to see some of the things you learned being injected into something with more resources, more energy, more more bandwidth than FSB had at the time that we acquired them.
No, that's interesting because I think one instance that stands out to me in terms of M&A and difficulties in integrating and absorbing businesses is, I think it was a couple of years ago now, there was a big story around Entain, right? And I think there's a constant restructuring and re-strategizing there, obviously a sort of major operator. But there was a lot of discussion in the media around whether they'd just really poorly absorbed a lot of the acquisitions that they'd done in Europe over the years, and there was a lot of like fragmentation. So it's interesting to hear your approach as just sort of, we want to start from the beginning, but utilize the people and the learnings that they've got so that we can sort of develop ourselves.
As if you end up with multiple platforms, multiple systems, you will just be fighting a long-term battle and you will never win it. You have to ideally, if you can, of course it can be difficult, identify what is the surviving technology you're going to use. That's where you go, and then you will lose some effort, you will lose some great things that have been built by doing so, but you will win the simplicity of not running multi-platform in the long run, and you really have to avoid that at all costs.
No, fair enough. Slight sort of broader view on EveryMatrix. Where do you guys feel like you sit now within the sort of overall outlook of the sector?
In a great place. You will not be so surprised to hear me saying that. When we have this growth of 30, 40, even 50% year on year for 2, 3, 4 years in a row, then that elevates us, and we are now a larger, more professional, more credible counterparty to the more discerning tier 1 operators, which is what we're targeting. And this is really the strategy. We have to continue along this path. We have to continue becoming that preferred partner for tier 1. And that's by no means easy, but let's say there's not the dozens of companies above us now in terms of who you would go to. And we see more frequently now that we get invited to the table, as one would hope, rather than having to force a way through the back door to here. Remember, EveryMatrix is also here. So this gives you some benefits, and then it's up to us to take advantage.
That makes sense. It's interesting looking at the sector overall. There's a lot of discussions around the sort of supplier-operator dynamic, perhaps more in the sports realm and sports technology realm. We're seeing sort of like big incumbents just kind of take over in terms of competition and push out a lot of the smaller players. What are your thoughts in the kind of dynamic of the supplier-operator relationship today?
Yeah, I think this whole insourcing thing is massively blown out of proportion and exaggerated.
Yeah.
It is true that this is a phenomenon that exists, but exists primarily in one market, the North American market, which is today only a fraction of the total gambling market. And if you look across the many and very different geographies where you will find sports betting today, then you find many operators sitting on in-house tech stack or third-party tech stack, but in both cases quite often tech that is now no longer competitive. So we have clients that were sitting on such technology, and so we built it on our own. But at some point, you have to realize that I simply do not have the scale to compete with this. So I'm maybe too optimistic, but I think actually right now the market is working towards benefiting companies such as EveryMatrix that can provide solutions so that you would be able to actively compete with the very largest of B2Cs. And of those, is there 10? Is there 20? Let's say there's 20, but there's not more. And there are literally hundreds of other operators that each of them have significant and very healthy market share in their home countries, local heroes, if you like. But those local heroes need to step up, and our job is to be there for them. Whether this is in Europe, Latin, Africa, Asia, there's lots and lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
And we built a company basically with European revenues only. We are more than 90% of our revenues are from Europe. So we grew this much only with fairly limited geographical scope. I think there's a lot of new business waiting for us.
Yeah, absolutely true. Who would you say then are your sort of main competitors today?
Yeah, it's a mix. Of course, it depends on the type of solution that is up on offer. The key thing is that we are competitive in almost every combination. So this could be a lottery looking to go online. It can be a land-based casino looking to go online, like this Sky City deal that we announced today. It can be with more of a casino focus or more with a sports focus. The key thing for us has been to make sure that, particularly our sportsbook, that we were able to deliver at the highest level across the various verticals. It's also why we are investing into live dealer. It's why we're investing into slots content, because each of these factors can turn out to be the determining factor into winning a deal. And only, of course, if our product then is really of the highest standard, can we then hope that this can be to our benefit. So yes, a big variation of competitors, but yeah, somewhat shrinking, thankfully.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your priorities then? You mentioned sort of local heroes and the opportunities in a lot of these emerging markets. Coming to mind, obviously Brazil, Finland, New Zealand, even. Yeah, sort of. Are you looking at all of these? Any ones that you can sort of pinpoint that really feel like a bigger opportunity than another, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think I can pinpoint some that would be of large opportunities. No. Some of this is given to us, inherited from the FSB acquisition. This brought with us a presence in the UK, brought with us a presence in the African market. So while I would love to be very active in LATAM, and hopefully in a year from now we can also show some results from that, right now we have some momentum going in UK and African market thanks to this. And so on the very short term, our ambition is to capitalize on this. We have already invested into making sure that our product stacks up for the UK, that it stacks up for Africa. So since we did this investment in the very short term, not so much because these necessarily are the very best markets or very worst, but it's markets where we did the investments, we have the presence, and we will be fools not to try to take advantage of this and capitalize. So in the short term, those are going to be our areas of focus.
Right. It's interesting there you mentioned, and I think lots of others have said this as well, in terms of like the Brazil opportunity and stuff. There's obviously time later on as the market matures for you to enter that. How do you decide then which markets or which areas to prioritize? That's it seems sometimes like everything's emerging rapidly and everybody wants a piece of the pie, but how do you take a sort of more structured and like strategic view?
Yeah, I would say it's not particularly easy, and I'll also say that I'm not convinced that we are doing it in a perfectly great way. We are trying to improve. We have reorganized the way we are doing our outbound commercial. We have brought together what I think is a pretty strong team on this, which allows us not necessarily to be great in picking, but at least if we pick, then we also can execute. And to some extent, it's more important to execute than to pick. I might say Colombia and you might say Argentina. Maybe you are right. But the key thing for me is not so much if I picked the right of these two, but if I chose one, then actually we delivered a product that was matching the needs for operators there. We know who the operators are, and we get the right dialogues with the right decision makers. If I do this, then yeah, you might told me I should gone down the coast instead. But this is really the key thing, and whether we can achieve this or not, this is sort of the most important milestone that I could say we could achieve. That if we say we're going left, then we will going left with full force with all of our units aligned, and we will also deliver on going left.
So sticking to your guns.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
Okay, fab. Couple more from me. I've heard quite a lot that you guys have a fantastic capacity to retain talent and staff. What do you put that down to?
Caring about what we do and respecting each other. And I hope this may long continue, but of course we have a culture which also is by now pretty old culture. I mean, I was part of founding the company. My co-founder is still in the company, so we have a lot of history, longevity of I mean, any startup has this, that you work hard together and you have a common vision and common goal. You get this, it's spread into you. So we've tried to retain this, and as I said, I think the key two things from this is that you actually care about what you're doing, and it becomes a personal project. It's an extension of yourself. And I'm not saying anybody out of 1,400 people should feel like this, but I hope and I believe that many in EveryMatrix's actually feel like this, that they are part of this company and they play their part, and jointly we do these things. So this caring, and then if you care, then you should be respecting your colleagues, whether they are below or above or on the side or whatever, that you treat them with respect and as people that you really want to work with and achieve positive results.
Brilliant. And what else are your priorities then for the next sort of 6 months, a year, 2 years?
Hopefully get a few more deals done. I mean, we're doing well with what we have. What's key for us is to say we are now actually doing what we discussed, saying, oh, we're going to this or that country. We have made our plans. We have said these are our target areas. I would like to be able to sit with you in a year from now and see that we have signed more deals like the Sky City deal we announced today. These are the type of deals that elevates us and brings us forward. So yeah, give me a handful more of those, then I'll be a happy camper.
Fabulous. Any more potential M&A on the horizon, or got your hands full?
Right now, yes, but you know, financially, I think we have a bandwidth in terms of organization. We're not quite there yet. We still have migration project going on with SB. We still have to get rollout of Fantasma games across and do much more with this great asset. So I think right now I wouldn't say we don't have the organizational bandwidth, but hopefully in 6 months. But of course, it always depends on how well these things turn out. Maybe we did a horrible job of it and we should never again buy any other things.
Are there any, like, I guess, to use a bit of a tired phrase, but like emerging verticals or areas that you're looking at in terms of what could be potential for future deals?
Yes, there are. But I think it's sort of premature to say which ones they are. But we are in a position now where we can, as also a year ago, where we invested in new things, and you know, who's to say whether they will even ever see the light of day. But we are trying to move into new verticals, yes. Mostly to be ready to say there is this opportunity and we can grab this opportunity because we actually already did this investment. So we are laying the groundwork for doing future deals in areas that we think are going to be important. But yeah, if they never materialize, then we'll have a stack of code sitting on the side completely unused.
Right. You mentioned insourcing before, which I'm super interested in, covering a lot. And it's safe to say that you obviously feel that this discussion around the supplier opportunity is waning, people are building their own tech, blah, 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 isn't true, because you use yourselves as an example of like a big growth opportunity. So do you think that's the case across the whole sector for the supplier outlook, or is it more
by and large, yes. And I think the key thing is to be able to allow the operator to get what they want to achieve from the insourcing. So what do you want to get from insourcing? What is really the reason why I want to insource?
Yeah.
Not because you are massively interested in being a technology developer as well as being a gaming operator. So what really are your objectives? So there's certain things you want to control. So key for us is, well, then let's make sure you get that control. So this also comes down to not having thousands of small clients, but having fewer and larger clients. By doing this, this allows us to give the attention, the bandwidth for those clients. So it's about that, and it's also about the technology part. We have a product that streams every single transaction in milliseconds into a Kafka, where you can just grab this data and do with it what you want, into your own CRM, into your own finance system, into your own front end. We have APIs that allow you to build your own front end. This Sky City deal that I referred to earlier, they are actually building completely bespoke front end for them. It's not our technology. This is the key thing in most cases for the operators. Control the front end and control the data. Those are the two key things to control the user experience. So we put a lot of emphasis from a technology point of view in allowing operators to get exactly those two things under their control. And then all the boring thing in the middle, do we really need to have this in-house? I mean, I have 1,000 people that are taking care of it. Maybe let me take care of this, and you take care of the front end, where you can make a fantastic front end with 12 people rather than 200.
That makes sense. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Really
I
insightful.
appreciate it as well. Good to see you.